There is no one on this earth that can persuade me that it's best having seed born in the test tube of the quantum TV quest. I am hard and I am needy, and I need it to be real, right for her and right for me. Spinning round with our bare feet floating somewhere near the ground, spinning round the world. There is no one on this earth that can persuade me that it's not been raining cats and dogs since we've been rushing Camelot, hiding ancient memory of emotion we expect we've lost in the effect of the effect. Spinning round and our hobnails crashing straight into the ground, spinning round the world. There is someone on this earth who will now say we're out of trees for wanting food that grew from seed that blew in autumn breeze. Genghis Chang has just been born, he's on his way to you with cash to help you modify your view. Spinning round with her bare feet floating just above the ground, spinning round the I want to live forever, but I know I must relent, give my place up to my kids, no longer dodge the rent, pass it on just what it is to be over the moon, make it right for her and make it soon. For the world, spinning round and our bare feet strolling slowly across the ground. got to this one. This is Rushing Camelot, one of my favorite songs from The Green Man, a great album. And this was a tough one to crack. The tricky thing about it is that in spite of using DADGAD tuning tuned down to A, which is really low, the lowest note that Roy actually plays on the song is this one, which is a C. So this led me to believe for a couple of months that Roy was using DADGAD tuning but tuned down to C, which he doesn't. And the other thing is that I know that on later days Roy usually uses the DADGAD tuning tuned down to A sharp. He uses that on Green Man, the song. He uses that on Heaven Is Here from his latest album, or for instance on the live versions of Highway Blues. He has his guitar tuned down to A sharp. So I thought that that would be as far as he would go. I never thought that he would tune it down to A. Well, but he does on this song. So this is DADGAD tuning tuned down 2 tones and a half to A, which is a real nightmare because my guitar is not set up for such low tunings, so I just have to deal with what I have. So let's check out the tuning in detail. So the 6th string is an A, as I said, and then the 5th string is an E, the 4th string is an A, the 3rd is a D, then you have another E, and finally another A. So you definitely have to use some heavy strings on your guitar in order to have, just a decent tension on the strings. So anyway, let's move on with the lesson, and the first part that I want to show you is what I think is the most important bit that you have to learn on this song, and it's this little finger picking section that goes. And I'm going to stop here because from here you may move on into different directions depending on the part of the song in which you are. So let's see this in detail. Let me play it slowly. This is the first chord. Little finger on the first string, index finger on the second, and middle finger on the third. And you only play the first 4 strings. So you may have noticed that in the middle of the process you take off these 2 fingers, and finally you take off the little finger, so that at the end of this chord all your fingers are off the fretboard. And then you move to the second chord. So this second chord is middle finger here on the 4th string, ring finger on the 5th, and little finger on the 2nd. And once again, at the end of the chord, you lift your fingers from the fretboard so that the last note is the 2nd string open. So let me play it again slowly. So for the first chord you are playing the first 4 strings, then you change to the second chord, 4th string open. Now if you are playing the intro, from here you go you are back to the 1st chord. Here you play the 1st and 3rd strings simultaneously. And again. And you finish with the 4th string open. Then we move into the verses. The verses use these 2 chords again, but there's a 3rd one. So let's check it out. So this is the basic run. The first 2 chords are played the same way that I've shown you before. This 3rd chord, which is a bar on the top 3 strings. And then you are back to the 1st chord. But this time you don't take your little finger, only the other 2. And then back to the initial run. Then on the last line of each verse, instead of going to the 3rd chord, you go back to the 1st one. You take off these 2 fingers, you don't take off the 1st one, and there's a hammer on the 2nd string. Like this. So there's a hammer on the 2nd string. So from here we move into the chorus, which basically uses 2 chords. This one and this one. So let me show you the 1st chord. Watch my left hand, middle finger on the 6th string, ring finger on the 4th string, and little finger on the 2nd string, all on the 3rd fret, and the rest of the strings are opened. And the 2nd chord has the same design, but you move your fingers down 1 string, like this. So start like this, and then down like this. And one thing that you may have noticed is that when you change from this chord to this one, the last note that you play is the 2nd string open. So that for a moment you lift your fingers so that the 2nd string is opened. Back to the 1st chord. So as you see, when you are playing this chord and before going to this one, the last note is the 2nd string already opened. Now let me show you the finger picking. Watch my right hand. Then back to the 1st chord. Then at the end of the chorus you finish with this chord, the first chord. This is the part that goes with the falsetto. Spinning round the world. So when you are on this chord at the end of the chorus, you stay there a little longer. And in the process you take off these two fingers like we did during the verses, but you keep the little finger on the first string until the last moment. And when you put them back, there's this hammer-on on the second string, which we already have seen, but this time you stay here a little longer. So only the third time you change to the second chord and finish the chord progression that goes with each verse chorus. Now, before showing you the instrumental section that is in the middle of the song, I'm going to show you the end of the song, the coda, because it uses chords that I've shown you before, and it goes like this. So the first chord is this one, which is the first chord on the chorus, and once again the last note you already have to take off your fingers because the last note is the second string open, like this. And then the second chord, which is this one, the first chord of the song, and you play it the same way that I've told you at the beginning of this lesson. So let me play this slowly and watch my left hand. Now watch my right hand. And then at the end, just to finish the song, you finish the same way by going from this chord to this one, like we've seen before. Okay, and finally I'm going to show you the instrumental section in the middle of the song. It uses basically two chords, but it starts with this one. So this chord is index finger on the third string 5th fret and ring finger or middle finger maybe on the second string 6th fret. So this is like an intro. The last note you take off your finger from the second string so that the second string is open. And then you move to this chord. Index finger on the second string, 5th fret, and middle finger on the 3rd string, 6th fret. And then basically you alternate between this chord and this, which is the same shape, but with your fingers on the 8th and 9th frets. And once again, as you may have noticed, when you change chords, the last note on each chord is already the second string open, so that you have to lift your fingers from the chord. So the last note then on the way out, so from this chord you go back to the first one. Do this little lick that you've done before at the beginning of the song.